and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Jason.
Sarah Sarda.
Here.
Terry Crandall is absent tonight. Kathy Greenaway.
Here.
Franny Kiefer.
Here.
Jill Sternquist.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum. Moving on to approval of the agenda.
Motion to approve the agenda before us?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Greenaway.
Yes.
Sarda.
Yes.
Sternquist.
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes. Next, approval of the minutes from the May 8th and the May 15th school board meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the, school board meeting minutes from the past meetings as listed.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please, Jason.
Sternquist.
Yes.
Sarda.
Yes.
Greenaway.
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes. Minutes are approved. Any direct or indirect conflicts that need to be noted or disclosed? Hearing none, the consent agenda.
Motion to approve the consent agenda before us?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Greenaway.
Yes.
Sternquist.
Yes.
Sarda.
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes. Consent agenda is approved. Anyone signed up for public comment?
No, we did not tonight.
All right, moving on to the good news. We have Dr. Heather Olson and Mr. Ryan Moores.
Hello, everyone. So at the middle school, there's a couple of things towards the end of the year that I know you've probably seen on Facebook, but I wanted to give a shout out to our middle school ESD track meet. The boys got second and the girls got first this year, so that was really exciting. I believe Mr. Morris can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we had to have 4 or 5 records that were broken this year for our middle school track, so that's pretty amazing. So we'll have to make sure and update those record boards. I think one of mine went off again, so that's fine. I'll get over it. And then the other thing was Science Olympiad competed in Kansas, and which they did very well, but the Isaac Squared team, which is Isaac Larrington and Isaac Paulson, placed 5th in the wheeled vehicle. So that's really great and amazing, so congrats to those guys. And I'm gonna steal Rob's thunder a little bit, but there's a lot going on at the middle school right now. We have driver's ed going on, so this is our last week in the classroom. And we have our lockers on the main level that are in, they're gray, so it's really amazing to see the gray color. And then the painters came today. So it's 2 weeks and we're getting rid of that green and pink, so it's exciting. I'm excited for the changes, so that's what's going on at the middle school.
Perfect, thanks. We'll pop in and take a look here.
Yes.
Any questions for Dr. Olson? All right, Ryan, you've got the floor.
She probably didn't mention that the motivation for all the kids on the girls' side, I guess especially, are beat the principal's records on the book. So I guess it's working, so that's good. All right, so a little recap of the athletic season for the high school. So back on May 18th and 19th, our boys tennis team finished 5th at the state tournament, which if you remember last year, they were state champions, and that was in Class A, so we grew just enough to be bumped up to Class AA, so that was a great job by our guys finishing 5th at the AA state tournament, so good for them. Our Bucks track team finished 6th place out of all 19 teams, which is really good at the state track meet. That was May 25, 26, 27, and our girls came in 10th place, so both teams were in the top 10 out of the 19 schools at the state track meet. And then our Gazelles golf team, just last week out in Pierre, they ended up taking 7th place. So all 3 of those sports did a nice job this spring. And then the one that's brand new to the docket for us this year, of course, was softball, which was sanctioned for the first time. So if you caught what was going on with the weather late March and early April, we had a tough time getting things rolling because Mother Nature really did not want to cooperate. But after we got into the middle of April, things improved quite a bit, and actually our girls were able to do a lot more earlier in the season than a lot of other schools because we're fortunate enough to be able to play on turf over at Sertoma, where dirt and agar line doesn't dry out near as fast as that turf did. So that was a great advantage for our girls throughout the season as well. So in the inaugural season, the girls finished with a record of 13 wins and 9 losses, and they made it to the state tournament. 8 teams make the state tournament, just like a basketball tournament or a volleyball tournament, and the girls ended up beating Sioux Falls O'Gorman in the 7th place game, so ended up taking 7th place. And that was up in Aberdeen on June 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And just so you're aware, our head coach is Jill Muth, and our assistant coach was Amanda Haas. So congratulations to the Gazelles in their inaugural season of softball. Questions for me on anything? All right,
Perfect,
thanks.
thank you, successful spring. Number 8, we'll take a look at setting the meal prices for the 23-24. We had asked Laura to be here. It's been a while since we talked through the process of how we set that with the pandemic and COVID and everything, so I thought it'd be a great time to kind of refresh us on how it's not just pulling numbers from the air.
It's not. We pull our hair out when we're trying but no numbers from the air. So normally when we set meal prices, we do what's called a paid lunch equity tool, or PLE, and that's something that's mandated when we do our application. Every time we change programs, we have to do an application. So right now we're in the summer feeding program, and so we had to apply to the state to run that program. And so right now we're working on our application for fall to operate National School Lunch Program. So part of that application is the paid lunch equity tool, and that's, like I said, it's mandatory. The state makes us do that. And then the paid lunch equity tool, what it does is once we input our numbers, what our pricing structure is and how many meals we're selling, and how many, what our free and reduced average is for last October, that paid lunch equity tool lets us know if we should do a price increase or not. So that's kind of how we decide, or how we see if a price increase is necessary or not. Pre-pandemic, we did raise our prices slightly in 2019 to what they are currently set at, but before that, we haven't raised prices since 2016. During the pandemic, of course, meals were served at no charge due to a USDA waiver. When the waivers expired in the fall of 22, we went back to a pricing program, and we charged meals at our pre-pandemic rates. And Jason has our 10-year history up there on the screen, but so you can see that our meals prices have been steady since 18, and then just that little bump up in 17. But consistently, Yankton is one of the least expensive schools in our area. Every couple of years, we do a survey with all the schools, and consistently we run pretty inexpensive for breakfast and lunch prices. Currently, we are receiving an additional reimbursement rate of 55 cents between breakfast and lunch on top of our normal reimbursement rate. This additional rate is due to the Keep Kids Fed Act, or KKFA. This added rate will be expiring at the end of June. So that added rate will be going away here unless Congress does. There are a couple of pieces of legislation that have been introduced, but nothing's been passed yet. So the School Nutrition Association is working really hard. We have a really great legislative team, and they're advocating and lobbying for us in Washington to either keep this, the KKFA going, or to approve some of the new legislation that's been introduced. But if this funding, so that's why with that KKFA Act, we're confident that, you know, if it passes, or if it continues, we would like to freeze the prices as is, just to help out more families in YSD. You know, we can see firsthand that we still have some struggling families here with, you know, our unpaid lunch debt and things like that. But so we would rather, you know, Jason and I have talked about it, and we'd rather just freeze those prices for now. If the additional funding source is not approved at the federal level, then, you know, we may have to revisit it. But for now, we'd rather see, you know, we'd rather be helping more families than we can. That's all I have for that recap.
Perfect, any questions for Laura? Oh, thank you, lots of acronyms and
Yeah,
lots
sorry.
of moving pieces. No, thanks for explaining that. So I will entertain a motion to set the meal prices.
Motion to approve the meal prices as printed.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Greenaway,
Yes.
Sorda,
Yes.
Sternquist,
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes, all right, the meal prices are set, and now for the fun part, the summer food program update.
Sure. We're only about 1 week into our summer food program, and we've already seen great numbers. I hear that we had a distinguished guest at middle school today, just missed him, but, and that was me honking at you from.
I wondered that. My way.
But yeah, like I said, we've had some awesome numbers and every site is up from last year, which is great. Just some fun things that I touched base on last time I was here. The United Way has dropped off their little red bookshelves at every site. And we're so happy to have Rebecca Beeson from South Dakota Extension Office. She is coming 2 times a week at Webster. And she's providing, she comes Monday and Wednesday, and she's providing some nutritional education and some fun activities for the kiddos there. And we're also keeping an eye on the fun things happening at the Yankton Community Library. We've ordered some fruit-scented scratch and sniff stickers and some funny food pun stickers to be handed on Wednesday because the library is doing a sticker exchange. And if anybody knows me, they know I love a good food pun, so I just had to get those. But we have and we even have several staff that have signed up to do the adult summer food program challenge as well. So we're having a good time with that.
Excellent, thank you very much, appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
Next up, we have our comprehensive special education plan, the recertification of it, and I will turn it over to Mr. Clemish.
Thank you, good evening, school board. I have to ask the question, who picked the pink color for those lockers? Dr. Kendall, was that you?
It's mom, it was mom.
Just had to ask. I don't know, but they're pink. All right. Yes, the comprehensive special ed plan, annually we do this at the June board meeting, and we usually don't have any changes, but this year we do. Basically 2 words. But we spent, we as in the special ed directors across the state, and Linda Turner, the SPED director in Pierre, we spent 21-22 school year studying these 2 categories, 570, which is the developmental delay category, and the 530, which is emotional, at that time, disturbance. We discussed these terms, and I will say I voted for both of these changes because they are good for kids. So, DD, or developmentally delayed, what was happening is kids would, qualify at 3 or 4 years old, go into our early childhood programs, be successful and be making gains, but they still needed help. But then when before they turned 6, we had to reevaluate them because they could no longer qualify for DD. So what happened is some kids, if they got a few questions right on the tell, they didn't qualify. They didn't get any help for a couple of years, and then they were back, 2nd, 3rd, 4th grade, needing help again. So it was confusing for parents. We weren't getting them the help, statewide. Other states have made this change a lot, before. So now kids can qualify. We don't have to reevaluate them until they turn before 9. So this will give us a chance to give them help. They may or may not qualify for specific learning disability or one of the other 12 categories, but this is a good deal. We'll get kids help. The second change, so basically that's one word, changing it from age 6 to 9. The second change is the word disturbance, or emotional disturbance, was really a negative label put on kids that were having some behavioral problems. So we looked at different terms, everything from emotional behavioral disability, there were some other ones, but we landed on emotional disability. I think that's a good way to describe the term. And once again, I think this will be easier for parents to accept that category with the name change. So those are the 2 recommended changes in our comprehensive plan. Any questions?
Questions for Jerome? Thank you for explaining that and reassuring us on it. I will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we recertify the comprehensive plan for special education with the changes as updated.
Second?
Motion and a second, any discussion? All right, roll call please.
Sternquist,
Yes.
Greenaway,
Yes.
Sarda,
Yes.
Kiefer.
Yes, comprehensive SPED plan is recertified. Moving on to the summer project report. Rob, Doesn't slow down for you in the summer.
Good afternoon, no, it does not. We've got a busy summer ahead of us. I've got a list of over 48 projects here that we're working on, some small, some large, and everything in between. As Dr. Olson hinted, we're underway at the middle school with the lockers have been replaced, except for the trim being put in. That hasn't been done because the painters arrived today and they're gonna start repainting the entire first and second floor and all the stairwells to again remove all the paint and the green that's become not so popular in this day and age. So that process is underway. Additionally, we got some carpet projects going on at least 4 schools, including high school, Lincoln, Beetle, and the middle school, totaling close to $87,000 worth of carpets going in this summer. Fire alarms for safety projects. The middle school just had its new fire alarm panel updated, and last year, same time I was brought in, we talked about doing a total replacement of the alarm system at the middle school. Once we researched that, we found that that would essentially be the only project that could go on inside the school between electricians. I was told we'd need multiple electricians to rewire and do the entire. So through discussions with Dr. Kendall and Jason, we came up with a plan, as well as our fire marshal and the ABC's alarm company, and we've come up with a 5-year plan, this being step 1, and now we have a 5-year plan starting next year to replace the entire system, doing it in blocks throughout the school without disabling the entire school for the summer. And the good news is the actual new alarm panel for announcing and communicating between the school, the fire department, and the alarm company has already been installed and is up and running. So that one's been done. In addition, we're getting new alarm panels at both Lincoln and Beetle School also this year, because theirs are outdated and more than 20 years old. So in the safety aspect, we're investing quite a bit of money. It was close to $57,000 for the 3 panels to be done. But again, in doing the alarm system at the middle school in the fashion that we're doing it, it's actually going to be cheaper over the long run, putting it in sections year by year, than it would have taken to hire the electricians, again, putting the school totally out of service just for this repair throughout the summer. And I think that's a good step in the right direction. Additionally, we've got the tennis courts that are being resurfaced. The condition was brought to light by Mr. Moores, as well as the tennis coach, and the disrepair that they were in, and the fact that they had to be they couldn't be utilized when it actually rained because of some of the issues that occurred with the courts themselves. So they're being resurfaced. That's a shared process with us in the city, and the city is actually spearheading that one, so that one's underway. I'd say that the next large item we have would be the roofs. Both the middle school has had extensive leaking that's gone on for a while, as well as the high school. And the high school and the middle school together are around $550,000 for the 2. But at the end of the year, at the end of the summer, when they're both finished, we should have at least dry rooms for the kids to learn in and staff to work in throughout the year. Again, I have just endless numbers of projects going on, but those were some of the highlights I wanted to hit on. One other safety item I wanted to talk about real briefly that you've approved in the past and we're moving forward with is the window tint project at the schools on the vestibules, and that is supposed to start this weekend. I talked to Tim at Tint Pros today and supplied him with a key, and he's going to start at Webster. His plan is to start this weekend with Webster and work his way around the district. Anybody have any questions or concerns? Again, I have lots of projects, but to go on, it would take me an hour to ramble through them all.
Rob, I just have a comment, maybe a question.
Yes, sir.
On the window tinting, excuse me, you and Chief went around and looked, is that right? So,
Yes, sir.
Okay, that was the project.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
That's the project. Any other questions?
I mean, I think a lot of these projects show the great collaboration in the community between, whether it's the fire department, police department, the city and everything, so thanks for working on making all this happen.
Thank you.
Yes, perfect. All right. And we'll wish you good timelines as well, so. All right, with nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned.